Hi, good day. I am Kathy King V. Handog, and today I'm going to discuss about learning style of a student. So before we proceed to our discussion, I would like to leave a quote from Christine Baranski saying, "I never say I have a preference for one medium as opposed to another." This lesson aims to develop an active approach to learning, and at the end of this discussion, students will be able to define different styles of learning, identify own style of learning, and evaluate effective learning strategies.
What is learning style?
So each person perceives, processes, stores, and retrieves material in a unique way that is individual to their preference and style. So what is learning style? So learning style is a preferred method of learning and processing of information.
Why is it important to know learning style?
Learning styles can encourage students to reflect on their preferred ways of learning, giving them more ownership and control over their own learning. Learning styles are a reminder that all students are different. And also, they can make teaching more enjoyable and expand teachers' professional skills. As a teacher, it is important to know your student, especially their strength in learning. Teachers should know how an individual student absorbs and processes information. Teacher can use different information to help students succeed academically.
What are the 8 learning styles?
Here are the 8 learning styles. The verbal or linguistic learner, the naturalistic learner, the musical or rhythmic learner, the kinesthetic learner, the visual or spatial learner, the logical or mathematical learner, the interpersonal learner, and the intrapersonal learner. Verbal and linguistic learner. People who possess this learning style learn best through reading, writing, listening, and speaking. Verbal students absorb information by engaging with reading materials and by discussing and debating ideas. Sometimes, it's a combination of these methods. So, for example, if a linguistic learner wanted to tackle a new skill, their best method of learning would be to read about it, then listen to an audio recording, and then take notes in it. Finally, concretizing, it would require speaking about it and possibly writing about it extensively. Not surprisingly, some of the best teachers and professors are linguistic learners. It's in the nature of the profession. Logical or mathematical learner. Those who exhibit this type of intelligence learn by classifying, categorizing, and thinking abstractly about patterns, relationships, and numbers. They also tend to understand relationship or patterns, numbers, and equation better than others. These are obviously engineers, scientists, mathematicians, and other technical professions. Visual or spatial learner. These people learn best by drawing or visualizing things using the mind's eye. Visual people learn the most from pictures, diagrams, and other visual aids. Auditory or musical learner. Students who are music smart learn using rhythm or melody, especially by singing or listening to music. This would be like a musician learning how to play by listening to a piece of music, or a drummer who hears beats in his head and on the street from arbitrary sources before putting it together in the studio. But it can also be a person who learns best while humming, whistling, toe-tapping, tapping their pencil on the desk, wiggling, or listening to a music in the background. For this person, music isn't a distraction, but instead actually helps the learning process. Some people also think better with background noise. So, you may often notice that some people think best when they hum, whistle, bounce a ball off the wall, or make some other noise or move while thinking. Bodily or kinesthetic learner. Body-smart individuals learn best through touch and movement. These people are best at processing information through the body. Sometimes, kinesthetic learners work best standing up and moving rather than sitting still. These people are also scientific in nature and must interact with objects in order to learn about them or learn about them in the best possible way. None of these careers could be done without hands-on experience. Many of these jobs, with rare exception, are also trade professions that require an apprenticeship or shadowing. Interpersonal learner. Those who are people smart learn through relating to others by sharing, comparing, and cooperating. Interpersonal learners can make excellent group leaders and team players. Often, these people share stories, works best in teams, and compare their ideas of others. In a sense, others help them think of new ideas of their own. They often naturally good leaders as well as good team players. You often see these people in various fields of psychology or social sciences. Intrapersonal learner. Intrapersonal or intelligent people learn best by working alone and setting individual goals. Intrapersonal learners are not necessarily shy. They are independent and organized. They set individual goals that are challenging, but not impossible. They are also motivated by internal forces rather than external ones. They often introvert individuals, but not always. These people often enter creative fields, become entrepreneurs, and sometimes small business owner. But they are actually in fields or industries that allow them to work without direct supervision. Naturalistic learner. Naturalistic learn by working with nature. Naturalistic students enjoy learning about living things and natural events. They may excel in the sciences and be very passionate about environmental issues. If this sounds like a scientist, it's because that's how scientists learn. The naturalists love experiences, love observing the world around them, and capture the best information or knowledge through experimentation. So before I would end my discussion, I would like to give a short recap of my topic today. So I tackled about the learning style, which is the preferred method of learning and processing of information. And the 8 learning style that I've tackled today are the verbal or linguistic learner, the logical or mathematical learner, the visual or spatial learner, the bodily or kinesthetic learner, the interpersonal learner, the intrapersonal learner, the auditory or musical learner, and the naturalistic learner. So the verbal or linguistic learner, it requires reading, writing, listening, and speaking to retain information. In logical or mathematical learner, it categorizing things or it requires categorizing things and logical thinking to retain information. In visual or spatial learner, it requires visual aids, images, diagrams, or graph. In auditory learner or musical learner, it requires sounds, music, or rhythm to retain information. In bodily or kinesthetic learner, it is being hands-on and physically touching or doing something to retain information. In interpersonal person, it's all about relating to others, working to others, and working in a group setting to retain information. In intrapersonal learner, it's all about the ability to work problems out on one's own to retain information. And lastly, the naturalistic learner, which it requires being outside the nature to retain information. So I hope that you've learned something from my discussion or my lesson, and thank you so much for watching.